Welcome back. An archive documenting the long history of Central Kentucky's LGBTQ community has been painstakingly pieced together, and now it's ready for its debut. The Faulkner Morgan Pagan Babies Archive, full of vibrant stories that will be shared with future generations. And here to tell us about its unveiling, Dr. John and Robert Morgan of the LGBTQ Archive. And gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. No, this is a vital piece of our history, just like any community here in Central Kentucky, but one that for many years was talked about on only hushed tones. And so I think that's why it's so important that you guys have put this archive together and we get to experience this history.
Yes, it is. As an historian, this can be a difficult community to trace because for many years they were trying desperately to hide for good reason.
Exactly.
And so it has been a fun investigation, that's for sure.
So what has gone into this investigation for you guys?
Well, really, it all started with Bob here. Bob is an icon of the community, a great collector himself. His artwork usually encompasses a lot of his collections. And so it really started as a private endeavor between the two of us to chronicle this story, the pieces that he had. And we quickly realized that it was a much larger project. So people started to contribute. We started to dig into archives with the state and even on a national level. And the story we found was not only of a Central Kentucky community, it's a nationally important story.
Sure, sure. So Bob, both as a performer in drag and an artist, taking all these things and putting this archive together, what do you think would be most surprising to people about the LGBTQ community in Central Kentucky?
Well, I guess the most surprising thing would be that we find evidence going all the way back to just after the Revolutionary War, before Kentucky was named a state. It was actually part of Virginia. And we have stories, documented stories of gay people in Central Kentucky at that time period. The first piece that I ever really remember saving was given to me by Henry Faulkner when I was a kid, 15 years old. So that was over 50 years ago that I got the first actual piece of LGBTQ history, which was a photograph that was given to me by someone who was, at the time, I thought much older than me, but actually Henry Faulkner at the time was not even 40 years old.
Okay.
He introduced me to older gay men who were born in the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
And I got to meet them, hear their stories when I was a young teenager. That generation quickly disappeared as we went into the 60s and 70s. There was no more of that generation left.
Sure.
And some of the stories they told me, I was the only source of those stories.
Right, right. So you wanted to archive them, as you have done, write them down.
Well, I just told them for years.
And tell them,
I just told stories for years. My family were storytellers, and so I would tell stories. Even when I didn't realize they were history, I just thought they were fascinating stories.
Sure, sure.
So.
Well, and so many stories that are to be told. This is a very extensive collection you all have put together, and we are running out of time, but we want to make sure we let people know how they can check it out. So it's opening up this Sunday, right, at the Lexington Public Library downtown?
At 2 o'clock.
Very good.
And it's a benefit for Movable Feast Lexington. So it's an exciting way to see some history and do some good at the same time.
And you have to call Movable Feast Lexington to get a ticket.
Okay, very good. All right, so we've got that number on the screen for you there. Tickets $15. And gentlemen, thank you so much for putting this together. Not just important to the LGBTQ community, but to all of us to know more about our history. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. Well, your top talkers of the day are coming up next. Stay with us.